Alicia, a woman's holistic wellness practitioner, and this is where we get real. No fluff, no filters, about what it truly takes to feel well physically, mentally, and emotionally. Let's get into it. You know, when I say the word acceptance, it sounds simple, doesn't it? But in reality, it's one of the most profound and challenging parts of a healing journey. It's easy to talk about acceptance when life is calm, when things are running smoothly, when the people we love are well, when plans are working out. But when life comes in with those big mountains, those big waves, when it hits you with a loss or a disappointment and endings or change, acceptance becomes something completely different. And it's something most of us don't learn how to do. We're taught to fix things or push through, to find the bright side, to stay positive. But we're not really taught how to sit in the middle of what hurts, and say, okay, this is where I am right now, and that's really what I want to dig into today. I want to explore that today, because acceptance, when you understand it deeply, can actually be one of the most healing and empowering practices there is. So, first, let's clear something up. Acceptance isn't about pretending everything is fine. It isn't about giving people or a situation a pass. It's not saying I'm okay with what happened. It is saying this happened and I'm learning how to be okay with myself in the midst of it. Okay, so acceptance doesn't mean you stop having feelings about it. You can still grieve. You can still feel angry. Still have those days where it all feels unfair. Acceptance simply means you're no longer trying to fight the reality of the situation. Because when you stop fighting reality, you stop leaking energy into a battle you cannot win. You stop replaying the what ifs and the if onlys. You come back to what actually is. And that's when your healing begins. For me, 2023 was the year of my acceptance. But the event that shaped it, that really brought the lesson home, if you like, actually happened years earlier in 2019. That was the year I lost someone deeply important to me, someone who was just everything, It wasn't just a loss of a family member. It was a loss of a presence that grounded me, that shaped who I am. And if you've ever lost someone like that, the world doesn't look the same afterwards. You keep moving, you keep functioning, but something inside feels like it's been rearranged. And for a long time, I didn't want to face it. I didn't want to acknowledge what had happened. I told myself I had to, but really I was just moving on top of it. keeping busy, helping others, doing what I needed to do to keep going. And on the surface, it looked like I was okay, I guess. But underneath, there was this quiet resistance. A part of me, a part of me that just didn't want to accept that this was now a part of my story. This loss was my story, you know. Then in 2023, something shifted. It wasn't like a dramatic shift. It was quiet, gradual, almost like a whisper that became clearer and clearer and clearer over time. I realized that acceptance isn't something that happens to you. It's something you sort of walk towards. It's that gentle but firm decision to stop pushing the pain away, stop pushing against water, as they say. So I stopped trying to move on, and instead I began to move with it, if that makes sense. I learned that this grief, this love, this sadness, this loss, it wasn't something to leave behind. It was something that now lives with me, and that's okay. I'm not the same person I was in 2019. I've changed, and I accept that. I accept that version of me. I don't need to go back. I can love who I am now, even with all that I carry now, And that for me was real acceptance. So, how do we begin to practice acceptance, especially when what you're facing feels life-changing? Acceptance is not a single decision. It's something you revisit over and over again, sometimes daily. It's a dialogue with your life. It's a softening, not a surrender in defeat, but a surrender in wisdom. So here are some ways you can start to step into that space of acceptance. Number 1, name what's true. Sometimes the most healing thing you can do is to simply acknowledge the reality out loud. This happened. This is where I am right now. It sounds small, but the body recognizes truth. When you deny or suppress reality, our nervous systems stay in tension. Okay, we're always bracing ourselves. Always bracing ourselves for what we won't let ourselves see. We won't let ourselves see the reality, so we're constantly bracing ourselves. Naming what's true allows the body to sort of exhale. It tells your system, I'm not in danger anymore. I'm aware. All right. So maybe for you, I lost that relationship. I'm not the same person I was, or I'm still healing. Whatever it is, say it with gentleness. You're not labeling yourself. You're acknowledging the truth of your experience. Number 2, acceptance doesn't mean numbing out or forcing yourself to be calm. Sometimes acceptance, sometimes acceptance looks like, crying in your car, snot running, hardcore, ugly faced crying in your car, letting those tears fall and not apologizing for it. Sometimes it's sometimes it's maybe allowing yourself to admit, I'm angry, I'm heartbroken, I'm scared. When you resist the feelings, we keep them alive longer, but when we let them be, they are able to move. It's almost like releasing them when you allow them to exist. But when you deny that feeling, when you hold it back, it's stuck. You don't necessarily have to like the emotions. You just have to let them have their moment. The emotions are messengers, they're not enemies. And over time, they soften. They start to make space for something new. And number 3, create a space to honor what was. One of the most powerful things I learned was to make space to honor what had been lost for me. And not in a performative way, but in a quiet and personal way. For me, it was waking up in the morning and lighting candles on my altar and just having time to sit with that thought, give that person that time, my loved one that time in my thoughts. And sometimes, it might look like, sometimes it might be in music or prayer or just, sitting in silence. That small act of honoring that ritual keeps the connection sacred while allowing you to keep moving, keep living. That's what it was for me. It was keeping that connection sacred while allowing me to keep living, carving out that space and that time while still getting on with my EDL, my everyday living. So you can create your own ritual. It might be journaling or walking in nature, painting, meditating, or simply breathing deeply with intention. Whatever form it takes, it's about giving that part of your life a respectful space, a respectful place and space to live. Not buried, but integrated. Right? Now, I want to make something very clear. Acceptance isn't about moving on. It's about moving differently. It's about building a new relationship with what's happened. You begin to realize that this experience, no matter how painful, has shaped you, maybe even awakened something in you that couldn't have existed otherwise, and that doesn't mean the pain is justified or that it's needed to happen. It just means you're allowing yourself to evolve with it rather than against it. As I said earlier, you stop pushing against the water and just go with the flow of what has happened. Acceptance is one of the most compassionate things you can give yourself, because it says, I trust myself to hold what is true. And that trust, that self-trust, is what builds real resilience. Now, there might be, I know there's probably someone at least listening who's thinking, Alicia, I hear you, girl, but I can't accept this. It's too big, too painful. And what I want to say to that is, I understand some things don't feel acceptable. Some experiences cut too deep, and the very idea of accepting them feels like a betrayal, like a letting go of justice or love or an identity. But here's what I've learned. Acceptance doesn't ease. Not ease. Acceptance doesn't erase meaning. It doesn't dishonor the person or the event or the emotions. It's simply it is simply choosing peace where there was probably once suffering, right? And that doesn't mean you stop remembering. You don't stop remembering the person, of course. You don't stop remembering the event, the loss, the identity. No. It means you stop reliving it. You can hold memories without reopening the wounds every time. You can carry love without carrying the pain in the same way. That's what healing actually looks like. All right. Acceptance isn't just for big things either. It's for small daily moments too. It's in how we as women, as people, accept our bodies as they change. It's in how we accept our pace. When we're tired, it's how we accept other people for who they are, and not for what we wish they would become. It's in the patience we give ourselves when we're learning something new, or in the compassion we extend when we make a mistake. Every small act of acceptance prepares you for bigger ones. It's almost like building an emotional muscle, one conscious step at a time. So, if you are somewhere quiet right now, I want you to take a deep breath with me. Inhale. Exhale slowly. Think about something in your life that you've been resisting, something that's been hard to make peace with. Now, I don't want you to fix it or rationalize it. Just notice it. Name it quietly in your mind. And as you sit with it, say softly to yourself, this is what is, and I'm safe to be with it. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw relax. Let yourself feel that small release that comes when you stop wrestling with something that's already true. That is the beginning of acceptance. Acceptance is not the end of the healing journey. It's the bridge. It's the bridge. It connects the wound to the wisdom. After acceptance comes integration. That's where the lessons start to unfold. You begin to see what this experience taught you about strength, love, boundaries, or purpose. You start to see how it sort of shapes your compassion for others. You realize you're now equipped to support someone else walking through their own pain. And that is what I call the quiet beauty of acceptance. It turns your pain into presence, into purpose. So, thank you for sitting with me today. Let's look at some journal prompts. Okay. Number 1. What experience, situation, or truth am I still resisting, even quietly within myself? Number 2. What emotions have I been trying to avoid, and how might it feel to simply allow them space to exist? Number 3. What gentle ritual or daily act can I create to honor what I've lived through without letting it define me? Number 4. How has this experience changed me? And what parts of the new me am I learning to accept? Number 5. What does peace look like or feel like to me right now in this season? So, if this episode resonates with you, share it with someone who might need this reminder. Please like and share. And until next time, oneness, wholeness, and peace.